Hello, today I'm making a risotto. Risotto is one of my favourite vegetarian recipes, although I'm not a vegetarian. And if we eat out, I quite often order a risotto. It's also a go-to recipe if I've got nothing for supper. What can I make? A risotto. Because as long as you've got the rice in your cupboard, you can normally make up enough bits to make some sort of a risotto. You can put almost anything in them. This is a Primavera, which means spring. And I thought, with the weather being so grim and we were all locked down, the thought of spring might be quite nice. So that's why I'm doing a Primavera. So in my bowl here, I have my rice and my white wine, which I've poured in there. Now, if you don't want to open a whole bottle, as I have of white wine, if you're not going to drink a whole bottle of wine, you can nowadays buy little bottles of wine in more or less every supermarket. They're just normally 2 glasses. I use slightly more than the recipe said. I put 75 millilitres in. You can use the rest in ice cube trays and freeze it if you don't want to drink it. And it means you can buy really cheap white wine if you don't want to drink it. Buy the cheapest there is, because it doesn't matter what it tastes like, it'll still be fine in your risotto. Then you've got your hot stock. Now, I don't have any vegetable stock cubes. I actually use the little stock, let me show you. These little stock things from, and they're done in beef and chicken and fish, and they do vegetable ones. I didn't have any, so I've used chicken, which will just add a bit more flavour. Now, having made this a couple of times, I've decided to make a pint of stock, because sometimes you need a little bit more water than the amount they're saying. So I've made a pint. If I don't use it all, it's not the end of the world. So the first thing you do is put 1/4 of a pint of stock in here. The amount it says in the recipe is 3/4 of a pint. I've got a pint, so you put 1/4 of a pint of stock in there. That's right, just a drip more. And you give that a good stir and put it in your microwave. Now, obviously, microwaves vary in power. Mine is an 850 watt microwave, which is quite hot. Yours might be smaller or a lesser wattage. Now, it says to cover it in cling film. You can, of course, use a plate. You don't have to use cling film every time. I use an old plate, which I haven't got out. Bear with me a moment. Where is it now? This is my mother's old Pyrex plate, many years old. It fits perfectly and saves you using a lot of cling film. If we're trying to save the planet, shouldn't use quite so much cling film. So you pop that in your microwave for 10 minutes, and I'll show you what we do during that 10 minutes. So just put that in the microwave on high for 10 minutes. Right. While that's working, it's magic. You can prepare the rest of your ingredients. Here are my asparagus tips. And what I do, because I'm doing it just for 2 of us, it's not a big dish, I'm going to chop these up. I take the very ends off because sometimes they're a bit dry and woody, so I take the very ends off and throw those away. Oops, throw those away. And then I'm going to just chop the rest in. Obviously the tips you want to save whole, and then the rest of them you just cut into sort of 1-inch pieces. Not very decimalised, not very metric, I'm afraid, but just chop them up into small enough pieces that they're not going to be great lumps in your risotto. So that's those. Then you can equally get your cheese, and it doesn't say to chop this up, but I think it's much nicer if you chop it up, and when you then put it in your mixture, it will melt down all the better. So I chop my cheese up, again just into little chunks, and it will melt really nicely into your risotto later on. So you can have those ready. As I say, I'm just putting them into 1/2-inch cubes, about 1/4-inch cubes, something like that. So that's my cheese. And then I'm also going to tear my mint, and that's of course, excuse me, that's what makes it so lovely in the spring. Like, the smell of the mint is glorious. And I love mint. It's such a fresh flavour, and it really does make you think that spring's on its way. I like mint in peas and in new potatoes, and as I say, it just makes me think of the new crops coming along. Won't be long, will they, hopefully. Maybe we'll be allowed to go out and buy them, who knows. So you want half a handful, isn't that a strange amount? But just tear the leaves roughly, so they're not very big. And obviously you take the tips off first. Use the tips of the, this was reduced for quick sale, so it's not particularly brilliant. But that's about half a handful, I should think. You can put as much as you like in, obviously. Now, the nice thing about risotto is that if you don't want a vegetarian risotto, and you happen to have a bit of chicken left over, or a slice of ham, or some mushrooms, or anything at all, you can add them. Last time I made this, I added ham, because we happened to have some, and my husband said he thought he'd like it, so that's what I did. So they're ready there. There's the rest of my mint, which again, if you want to, you can freeze, so you needn't waste it. Now, the other thing we're going to have is peas and beans. Peas and beans can be bought as a pack, apparently, in Waitrose. I don't shop in Waitrose. I bought a bag of peas and a bag of beans, and I'm just going to weigh the amounts, one of each, out, and have those ready to go into the microwave. So if you want to pause that a moment. So I'm weighing out my beans, 125 grams of beans. It doesn't have to be an exact science. And then I'm weighing out my peas as well. Going all over the place. Oh, in fact, all over the floor. All these bags open. Oh dear. I've opened this bag way too far. I did snip a corner off and then I opened it up a bit mad. Right, that's my peas and my beans ready to go in. As I say, it's not an exact science. If you do a few more, a few less, not the end of the world. I'm just going to put a clip on that bag so these peas don't go absolutely everywhere. Right, put those in there. So now I've got everything ready, and they can go back in the freezer. So I've got everything ready to go into the risotto when it comes out. It's still got another 4 minutes to go, so I'll switch myself on pause so as not to bore you. So that's done its 10 minutes, and I've lifted it out of the microwave. So now I'm going to give it a stir. Now, if the rice has gone into a bit, sort of set a bit, don't worry about that, just stir it up, break it up a bit, and then add another third of your stock, as before. So another quarter of a pint. Oops, sloshing it everywhere. It's a lovely Pyrex jug, but it doesn't pour very well. I've got others that pour better. But it has nice clear markings on it, so that's quite a good one. So stir that well in, so you've got lots of water in there, lots of liquid in there. Give that a good stir. Put your cling film or your lid. Obviously don't use one of your best plates, but if you've got an oldish plate, it's a really good idea, because you just take the cling film off and it scalds you, and then you have to throw it away anyway. So pop that back in the microwave. And we're going to pause again, because that's now going to cook for another 3 minutes. So we'll pause while that just does its next 3 minutes. Now I'm just cutting up some ham, because I'm going to add that to our risotto. But I've also got some other ideas here for you. Obviously chicken is a good one if you've got some cold chicken lurking around in the bottom of the fridge. But also I always keep these in the freezer. This is diced chorizo, and they also do diced ham and bacon lardons and things like that, which I always keep in the freezer. You can cook those and add those if you just want to add a bit of variety or spice. That's an ideal thing to use. And that little amount, it is, which I can't read how big it is, it's 150 grams. So it's just about the right amount for this amount of risotto, just to give it a bit of spicing up, if that's what you want to do. Okay, this is nearly coming out, so it won't be a moment. Okay, you've got 30 seconds left, and I'm going to lift that out. Now when this comes out this time, you're going to add to it all your vegetables and give it a good stir around before it has its last cook. Okay, so as long as you've had those already. You'll notice that during this recipe we haven't put any seasoning in at all. The recipe doesn't call for any seasoning. Actually, I never add salt to my food once it's cooked, but I do normally cook with salt. There's quite a lot of flavouring in this. You don't want to overwhelm it, but you can, when it's finished, add salt and pepper. Excuse me while I get this out. Add your salt and pepper at that point, because at that point you can really taste what it's like. Now this is slightly wetter, let me bring it and show you. This time it's slightly wetter because it's only had 3 minutes. So we're going to add our asparagus and our frozen vegetables. And we're going to stir them well in because you want them well mixed. What you don't want is a layer of rice at the bottom and a layer of frozen veg on the top. So make sure you stir it really well, and the bowl's really hot. Make sure you stir it really well in. And then it goes back in for its final time. And that's going to cook this time for 7 minutes. Can you see that's really mixed well in now? You've got a very good mix of rice and veg throughout. Back with its lid or its new piece of cling film. I don't mind if you haven't got an old plate. Pop that back in the microwave, back on high, and seven more minutes. I thought I'd done something wrong. Sorry about this. The rest of the stock. I am sorry. So, you should have put the rest of the stock in. Now, I wouldn't put all of the stock in because I have put a bit extra. So, what I would do is put about half the stock that's left in. Give it a good stir again. Sorry about that. Give it a good stir. And then, if when it's cooked, you think it needs a bit more, because some people like their risotto quite dry. I like mine quite wet and creamy. Pop that back in. 7 minutes. The microphone has pinged, so let's have a look. Apparently I said the microphone has pinged. I meant the microwave. I think I was thinking of my Dutch cousins who call a microwave a poppety ping. So I'm sorry, I'm a bit mad here. So at the moment this is quite wet still, but I'm going to try the rice because it may not be quite cooked. And the only way to tell is to taste the rice and see if it's done to your taste. And it's not. It needs just a few more minutes, but it doesn't need any more liquid because it's still quite damp. So I'm going to put that back in for probably another 3 minutes just to make sure the rice is done. There we are. That's fine now. I'm just going to taste the rice. I'm sure it'll be fine. Delicious. So now, with a mouthful of rice, you put your mint and your cheese in. You stir it up. At this point I also have put plates in the oven because there's nothing worse than serving rice or pasta on cold plates because it goes cold so quickly. So stir this all in so that it melts through the mixture. And then I'm going to add my ham because I've got that, but you needn't. Stir that in, and then when you've served it, if you want to, you can always put parmesan on the top if you like parmesan as well, which I do. So I'm going to also now add my salt and pepper. I don't add very much, as I said, because I don't like it, but you can always add more at the table. You can always add it, you can never take it away. So I've added just a bit, and whoever's coming to supper, my husband, can add his own. I'm going to add that ham in there as well. I'm going to leave it to stand so that the cheese melts thoroughly through, and then I'll show you when it's served. Right, that's had its 2 minutes standing time, and I'm now going to dish it up. I always serve it in bowls because I think it lends itself to a pasta bowl rather than a flat plate. And there it is. Oh, it's absolutely delicious. It smells divine. And very easy. You can serve it if you wish with something else. Some crusty bread or a green salad, but we're going to eat it just like this because it's really enough. You don't really need anything else with it at all. Makes a speedy lunch or a speedy supper. And as I say, best of all, when it's whirling away in the microwave, you can go off and read the paper, watch the news, see Boris's latest pronouncements, all of which is quite sad, and hopefully this will cheer you up. Unfortunately, like Nigella, I don't have anyone to whisk this all away and wash it up. I'll have to do that later, but enjoy.